Hi guys, it's Ruthie with the Popo Backyard Farm. You know, school's starting up soon, and I have some information that I think will help you. I'm going to try to cut to the chase as simple and best as I can to get you to understand the schooling things that I know that I think will help you, okay? So number one is I have done public, I have done private. I didn't do homeschool, but I did teach homeschool. And let me tell you my thoughts on this, and this might help you in your situation right now if you're searching for answers for schooling and that type of thing. Number one, let's address the homeschooling because a lot of parents right now are homeschooling. If you decide that you do not want to return your kid to school, which that's everybody has to, do their personal thing. I want to let you know that there are lots of groups out there that homeschool and they help each other. There's a group, it's called Leah. That's the local one that I know of. And I homeschooled my son for a little bit. And when I went to homeschool, I asked people for help, and they will literally, like, these people have meetings. They have meetings. Some of them use the same material, exact material that they use in the private schools. Um, and basically, as far as social interaction, these kids meet together. And if that's too far for you, because some people live in the country and things like that, some people, what they'll do is they get like a lot of churches, like the Assemblies of Gods and Church of Gods, they will have like Wednesday meetings that the kids get together and they do stuff like it's almost like the Boy Scouts. And I know at one point I used to teach the young girls, and you do a craft and have a little Bible story, but the kids love it. And a lot of times the parents wouldn't even come to church. They, because I worked at a church for a while, you'd be at the church and the parents would dump their kids off, and we're like, yeah, bring your kids if they want to come. We love them, let them come. So there is social interaction now with the social distancing. I'm not sure what they're doing. But I always encourage people, like, because, like I said, I used to work in church work and things like that. Like, if maybe their kids having trouble in public school, I'll always say, these little groups like this are nice because it gives your child a place that's not the same as the other kids, and maybe they might find friendships there. So it's not always that pressure, social kids and all that. So that's another thought. And a lot of myths and misconceptions, about the Christian part of things. People think that they watch too many movies and they think it's real. It's like they're just like every other kid. If they're weird Christians, the Christians think they're weird too. So it's just really one of those things. Having my coffee here, like my little scarecrow lady. Sorry about that, guys. Had to have my drink of coffee. So anyway, here we go. Um, so as far as homeschooling, if you decide to homeschool, some public schools, and they might be all, I don't know, because you pay taxes, they have to give you the school books. Now you have to check on all that. I don't know. Your homeschool people will walk you through everything. They'll show you what you have to report, what you have to do, whatever. Usually you have to go to the school with like a letter of intent or something and say, I intend to homeschool my kids. Then you have to produce records. You can't just homeschool your kid and that's the end of you. You produce records so that they know your child is learning. And there's things you have to do. But if you hook up with one of these homeschooling groups, and you could just ask around. You could probably even call the churches if you don't know one, because a lot of church people have homeschooled. So you can hook up with them. It's a myth about homeschoolers. There's homeschoolers and there's homeschoolers. Some homeschoolers sit home and eat Cheetos all day and don't teach their kids. That is foolish, stupid, and you're gonna end up sending your kids back to public school if you do that. That's just foolish and it's selfish. Then there's homeschoolers that are super, super serious. Their kids go to college young. Every child is different. Some kids are, which is one of the things that I do like about homeschooling for some people. Some kids, like, they may be terrible at book work. I mean, school pushes book work, but somebody might be really mechanical and they can fix a whole truck, but they're not a book learner. So homeschooling can be good, but you still have to learn your ABCs. You need to learn how to write. You need to learn how to do math and all those things. Now, I only homeschooled my son for a year, but what I did, and will encourage you with the homeschooling thing, at the time I had lots of money, and so what I did was I probably bought about $10,000 worth of school material. When I quit homeschooling, I gave away tons of stuff to other homeschoolers for free, as well as I donated a ton of things to the private school that I sent my son. Now, I went to private school part of the time. I think like 3 years when I was in school. Most of my brothers and sisters did, and then um, my son did for a while too. Private school, depending on where you go, is accelerated learning. But don't worry about that because they will get your kid in there. Now that was the one I went to. So the private school that I went to, my son went to, like they pulled my son and me in and they said, look at your son's math scores, they're off the chart, you know. But what happened was this. It doesn't mean you have to be accelerated and super smart to go to private school. That doesn't mean anything. So it's just that they usually will try to get the highest, which is the ABECA program. Okay, that's what I did. So the ABECA program is what I did. And so basically this is how it is when you go to private school with ABECA. And well, I can't say all of them are like this. You sit in a chair, like my class was 7th to 12th grade. You work out of, everybody has their own little, they call them like packets that you work out of. If you have a question, you raise your hand, the teacher comes over and answers. It's almost like the one room schoolhouse, but the teacher knows all the stuff, and she probably has the teacher's books and everything too. So anyway, when I went back to public school, which was at the end of the year, my brother didn't want to go anymore to the school or whatever, so mom and dad pulled my brother and I both out. And I was like 2 years ahead of the other kids in school. Now remember, I was studying from books. And so I ended up, passing that year with only like, I was only there 2 months, you know, and it was like, I remember sitting in classes, and I just couldn't believe, how the kids didn't know some of the stuff. But that wasn't to be snotty or anything. It was just how it was. But then I graduated from public school, and I just kind of, whatever material they were teaching, I kind of caught up. And because high school is a little bit different than elementary. Elementary is a lot of repetition, like every year they kind of build on it. Where high school is a little bit different because you have all those electives and everything. But I did sign up for BOCES because my dad owned a printing company and I wanted to work in his printing company and that type of thing. So I did take printing in BOCES, which as soon as they found out I was a girl, they put me on the computer. And so basically I was on the computer most of the time, which back then the computer was nothing like the computers of today, which was fine because I ended up working office work. But the point of that was to say that we studied out of books. One of my sisters graduated school from correspondence. She basically took correspondence. One thing with homeschool, just so you know, is you get your GED. But most people that send their kids to homeschool, their kids, how do I put this? They'll go to college right away. So some of these kids are going to college at 16. And so like it's just kind of like they breeze through that GED because when they go to get a job, they look at their college degree. And the thing is in public school they have to keep stopping for everybody else. And so when you're homeschooling, you can get through your material faster. Now, as far as interaction, like I said, you can join church groups. There's the homeschool group, which is what I would hook up with. I don't know what private schools are doing right now. I don't know what public school is doing right now. But I wanted to let you know my thoughts on it. I am not encouraging one way or the other because you have to decide for your own family. If you do decide to homeschool your children or send your kids to private school, most states, unless I don't know this, you still have to pay taxes because that was your choice. And so just like my husband and I are senior citizens, we still pay school taxes. And that's just part of the deal. But it is what it is. But I wanted to let you know that if you decide that you're going to homeschool, the public school will probably give you all the books. Hook up with a one of these homeschool groups, and if you don't know how to hook up with them, call one of the couple of the churches. Call 10 of them. They might suggest who to contact, and those homeschool people will take you right through the whole thing. They'll help you. They'll show you how to grade. They'll tell you how to go about it, the whole 9 yards. And then if you decide to do like a private school thing, you can call around the private school, see what they're doing. I don't know if they can allow students there. They're probably doing similar to the public schools, although they may bring you the books home. And if you feel like you don't want to report and you want a covering, that might work out. Also, if you homeschool, you have to homeschool your own kids. You can't have somebody else do it. You need to check with your state, but I am pretty sure that almost everybody has to homeschool their own kids. You can't just send them to somebody else and say you homeschool them. And also includes too, there's lots of online schools, there's lots of college things. And but basically at the end of the day, I would suggest strongly praying about it and figuring it out that way, because every child is different. Every kid is different. Some kids, mom and dad, they had 7 kids. I went to private school. Somebody else would go to public school. Mom and dad, pretty much, they tried to keep us together. But if there was rumples in the kids, they'd pull out the ones that wanted to be pulled out and let the ones go that, didn't. It's just, me. I pretty much, like, I've been in sales. I was like number 6 or 7, so I pretty much adapted to whatever mom and dad did, and I would stay there until usually one of my other brothers or sisters moved out or whatever. So, because sometimes, they, things happen. So, meaning that, um, sometimes kids just want to, like I think my sister wanted to go back to public school. It's just no rhyme or reason. You just got to pray about those things. But the point is that there's lots of help out there. You just got to ask for it. And as far as school books and socialization and all that, it's just like us as adults. If you want a more social life, I'm a senior citizen. I'm not a senior citizen. I should say I'm 57. My husband is 63. But if I wanted more social life, I would go to church and maybe join a gym, join a fire department, join, clubs and things that I enjoy. You don't have to be lonely, especially in this day and age, and especially with being online and things like that. So there's lots of, mainly, the physical activity of getting out there, clubs, not necessarily online, because that's really not a real world, because people usually put their best foot out on that. But like I said, there's lots of ways to socialize, and even safely in the social distancing world that we live in. There's lots of ways to socialize that with the mask and everything. So anyway, guys, I hope this is encouraging to you. Felt like it was a necessary video that, our YouTube channel is about life skills, and I wanted to share this life skill. It's good to know what to do about school, because even though I'm older, I have lots of family. Everybody's affected. I have teachers in my family. I have students in my family. I myself have worked in a Christian school, and because I worked at a church, and a church had a Christian school, and I also have subbed. I've also been called to teach in a public school, and I've had family that taught public school, and all that stuff too. So, and do teach in public school, I should put it that way. So I have a huge family. So you can imagine we probably cover every occupation out there. So anyway, like, subscribe. I hope this helps, and then I'll leave you with this: train up a child in the way that he should go. Do what's best for the child, and every child is different. So, with that, big or small, you too can be a backyard farm. God bless.